I was lying in a hospital bed, alone, staring at the ceiling. My chest was still sore from the surgery I had just survived. A surgery that was supposed to fix a problem I was born with, a hole in my heart that doctors had been watching for years. They told me it was getting worse. They said if I didn't fix it soon, I could have a stroke or worse. The doctors were honest with me. They said there was a real chance I wouldn't wake up from the anesthesia. I was terrified. So I did what anyone would do. I called my family. I needed my mom to hold my hand. I needed my dad to tell me everything would be okay. I needed my older sister Sienna to make me laugh and distract me from the fear. But no one answered. I called my mom Karen first. It went straight to voicemail. I left a message. Mom, I'm scared. My surgery is in 2 days. Please call me back. Then I called my dad David. Same thing. Voicemail. I said, Dad, I really need you here. Please come. Then I called Sienna. She didn't even have voicemail set up. It just rang and rang and rang. I sent texts to all of them. I'm scared. Please come. The messages were delivered, but no one replied. I thought maybe they were busy. Maybe their phones were dead. Maybe there was an emergency. I made excuses for them because that's what we do for the people we love. The next day, I was scrolling through Instagram to distract myself. And that's when I saw it. A photo of my mom, my dad, and Sienna at a fancy bridal boutique. Sienna was holding a wedding dress. My mom was crying happy tears. My dad was holding a glass of champagne. The caption said, the perfect dress for the perfect day. Can't wait to marry the love of my life. Love you, Mom and Dad. They weren't busy. They weren't dealing with an emergency. They were at my sister's wedding dress fitting, posting pictures on Instagram, smiling, laughing, living their lives while I was fighting for mine. To understand why they abandoned me, you need to know about Sienna, my older sister by 3 years. She is the golden child. The one my parents talk about at parties. The one who got a car on her 16th birthday while I got a used bike that broke down every few months. Sienna is beautiful, outgoing, and she has always been the center of attention. Every family dinner, every holiday, every celebration was about her. Her achievements, her friends, her life. I was the quiet one. The one who got good grades but never complained. The one who took care of myself because everyone was too busy taking care of her. When Sienna got engaged to a guy named Lucas, the whole family went crazy. My mom started planning the wedding before Lucas even finished proposing. She bought wedding magazines, booked venues, and called caterers all within the first week. My dad took out a loan to pay for it. $20,000 for a single day. Meanwhile, I was saving up for my surgery, working 2 part-time jobs while going to school. I didn't ask them for money. I never did. All I asked for was support. A text. A phone call. A visit. But Sienna's wedding was more important. Every conversation at dinner was about flowers, seating charts, and invitation designs. When I tried to talk about my surgery, my mom would change the subject. My dad would look at his phone. Sienna would roll her eyes and say, "Can we please talk about something happy for once?" My surgery was not happy. It was scary and real and inconvenient for them. So they ignored it. And when my surgery date landed 2 weeks before Sienna's big day, I became completely invisible. Not a shadow. Not a second thought. Just nothing. The surgery was scheduled for October 15th. Sienna's wedding was October 29th. 2 weeks apart. I remember calling my mom in early September to tell her the date. I was nervous. I knew the wedding was coming up, but I hoped she would still care. Her response crushed me. She said, "Oh, honey, that's right before the wedding. We're so busy with the floral arrangements and the seating chart. The florist is coming on the 14th, and we have the final tasting with the caterer on the 16th. Can you reschedule?" Reschedule. Heart surgery. Like it was a dentist appointment or a hair appointment. I told her no, I couldn't reschedule. The doctor said it needed to happen soon. My heart condition was getting worse. She sighed loudly and said, "Well, do what you have to do. We'll try to visit if we have time." If we have time. Those words echoed in my head for weeks. The week before my surgery, I didn't hear from anyone. I texted my dad a picture of my hospital wristband. He left me on read. I called Sienna and she sent me a voice message saying, Hey, sorry, I'm at a tasting with the caterer. Talk later. Later never came. I called my mom the night before the surgery. No answer. I left one last voicemail. Mom, I love you. I hope you come. She never called back. The next morning, I went into the operating room alone. I signed my own consent forms. I listed a friend from work as my emergency contact. Not my mom, not my dad, not my sister. A coworker named Maya, who I had known for less than a year. As they wheeled me into the operating room, I looked at the ceiling and thought about my family. They were probably sleeping in their warm beds, dreaming about flowers and champagne. And I was about to have my chest cut open. I remember waking up in the recovery room. The lights were too bright and my throat was dry. A nurse was holding my hand. She had kind eyes and a soft voice. Her name was Elena. She smiled and said, "You made it. The surgery went well. You're going to be okay." I was relieved, but then the fear came back. I asked her if anyone had called or come to visit. She checked her clipboard and shook her head. No calls. No visitors. "I'm sorry, sweetheart." I cried. Not because of the pain in my chest, but because of the pain in my heart, the one they couldn't fix with surgery. Elena asked me if I wanted water. I said no. I asked for my phone instead. My fingers were shaking as I grabbed it from the bedside table. I opened Instagram. And there they were. My mom Karen, my dad David, and Sienna standing in a fancy boutique. Sienna was wearing a white dress that made her look like a princess. My mom was crying happy tears. My dad was holding a glass of champagne. They were toasting to Sienna's future while I was lying in a hospital bed with tubes coming out of my chest. The caption said, "The perfect dress for the perfect day. Can't wait to marry the love of my life. Love you, Mom and Dad." 47 likes. 12 comments. All of them saying how beautiful Sienna looked and how lucky she was to have such supportive parents. Not one comment asked about me. Not one person mentioned that their other daughter was fighting for her life in a hospital bed. That was the moment something inside me broke. Not my heart. My hope. I realized I would never be their priority. I would never be the one they showed up for. I was the backup child, the invisible one, the one they remembered only when they needed something. I put my phone down and stared at the ceiling. Elena came back and asked if I was okay. I said I will be, but I wasn't sure if I believed it. The next few days were the loneliest of my life. I was in the hospital for 5 days after the surgery. 5 days of waiting for a knock on the door that never came. 5 days of checking my phone for a text that never arrived. The nurses were kind. They brought me food, helped me walk to the bathroom, and checked my vitals every few hours. But they weren't my family. Elena noticed I never had visitors. She sat with me during her breaks. She brought me extra pudding and told me stories about her kids. She said, "You're too young to be going through this alone." I almost cried. A stranger showed me more kindness than my own family had in months. On the 3rd day, my mom finally sent a text. It said, "Thinking of you. Hope you're okay. Love you." Thinking of me. Not calling. Not visiting. Just thinking. I didn't reply. On the 4th day, my dad sent a text that said, "Let us know when you're home. We'll try to stop by. We'll try." Again. I didn't reply. On the 5th day, Sienna sent a text that broke me in a different way. She said, "Hey, can you proofread my wedding speech? Want to make sure it's perfect. Thanks, sis." Not, "How are you feeling?" Not, "I'm sorry I wasn't there." Just a request for free labor. I stared at that text for a long time. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. But I didn't. I just put it down and closed my eyes. I was too tired to be angry. Too tired to be sad. I was just empty. On the 6th day, I was released from the hospital. Elena pushed me in a wheelchair to the front entrance. She hugged me and said, "Take care of yourself. You deserve to be happy." I thanked her and walked slowly to the Uber. I went home to my small apartment. I was weak. I could barely walk. I had to hold onto the walls to get to the bathroom. The stairs to my apartment felt like a mountain. Every step hurt. My chest was still healing and my body was exhausted. When I finally got to my door, I unlocked it and walked inside. On my kitchen counter, I found an envelope. It was a wedding invitation. hand-delivered by my mom while I was in the hospital. She didn't wait for me to come home. She didn't sit on my couch and wait for me. She just slid it under my door like a piece of junk mail. The invitation was fancy. Thick white paper with gold letters. It said, Sienna and Lucas invite you to celebrate their wedding on October 29th at the Grand Vista Hall. There was no handwritten note. No, hope you're feeling better. No, we missed you. Just a printed card that probably cost $5 each. I sat on my couch holding that invitation for an hour. I read the words over and over. I wanted to throw it in the trash. I wanted to burn it. I wanted to tear it into tiny pieces and mail it back to her. But I didn't. I put it on my fridge. Not because I was going to go, but because I needed a reminder. A reminder of who they really were. A reminder of what they chose over me. The wedding was in 2 weeks. I had a choice. I could show up and pretend everything was fine, smile for the photos, and go back to being invisible. Or I could finally choose myself for the first time in my life. It took me 3 days to decide. I chose myself. October 29th arrived. I was still recovering. I couldn't drive because the seatbelt pressed against my chest. I couldn't wear heels because I was too weak to balance. I could barely stand for more than 10 minutes without feeling dizzy. But I got dressed. Not in a fancy gown, but in my comfortable clothes, a soft gray sweater and black leggings. I brushed my hair and put on a little lipstick. Not for them. For me. I called an Uber and told the driver to take me to the Grand Vista Hall, a big fancy venue on the other side of town. The drive took 30 minutes. I watched the city pass by through the window and thought about what I was going to say. When I walked in, no one noticed me at first. Everyone was looking at Sienna. She was beautiful. I'll give her that. Her dress was huge and white, like something from a fairy tale. The hall was decorated with flowers and fairy lights. There must have been 200 guests. I found a seat in the back near the door. I sat down slowly because my chest still hurt. I watched my mom cry during the vows. Big dramatic tears like she was in a movie. I watched my dad give a speech about how proud he was of his daughter. His daughter singular. Not daughters. Just one. He talked about how she was the light of his life, his greatest achievement, his little girl. He didn't mention me. Not once. During the reception, the DJ played music and people danced. I stayed in my seat near the door. I drank water from a glass and watched. Then my mom saw me. Her face went pale. She walked over with a fake smile and said, "Oh my God, you came. I didn't think you would." I looked at her and said, "I wanted to see the wedding you chose over my life." Her smile disappeared. My mom didn't know what to say. She just stood there with her mouth open. Then Sienna walked over. She was holding her bouquet and wearing a crown of flowers in her hair. She looked annoyed. She said, "Can you please not make this about you? It's my day." That's when something snapped. Not loudly, but quietly. I stood up slowly, holding the back of my chair for support because my chest still hurt. I looked at Sienna and said, "You're right. This is your day. Just like every other day for the past 26 years. My voice was calm but loud enough for people nearby to hear. Then I turned to my dad, David. He was standing near the bar with a glass of whiskey. I said, "Dad, I had heart surgery alone while you were tasting cake." I signed my own consent forms because no one else would. I woke up to a nurse holding my hand because my family was too busy picking out flowers. The room started to get quiet. People turned to look. My dad's face turned red. He looked down at his drink. Then I looked at my mom, Karen. I said, "You slid an invitation under my door while I was in the hospital. You didn't even knock. You didn't ask if I was alive. You just left paper like I was a neighbor you don't really like." My mom started crying, but I wasn't finished. I said, "I'm not here to ruin your wedding. I don't want to take anything away from Sienna. She didn't ask to be the favorite. You made her that way. But I am here to say goodbye. Not to you, but to the version of me that kept hoping you would change." I took a deep breath. My chest was burning. I said, "I hope you have a beautiful life. I really do. But I won't be in it." Then I walked out. I didn't run. I walked slowly because my body was still healing. But my heart was finally free. After that day, I blocked my family on everything. Phone, social media, email, everything. I didn't want to see their posts or read their messages. I needed space to heal. My mom sent me a letter a month later. It said, "We made mistakes, but family is family. Please don't cut us out. We love you." I read the letter 3 times. Then I threw it in the trash. Love is not a word you use after abandoning someone. Love is showing up. Sienna sent me a message through a friend. She said, "You embarrass me in front of everyone. I hope you're happy." I told the friend to tell her that I was happy. Happier than I had ever been. My dad never reached out. Not once. I think he knew there was nothing he could say. I spent the next year focusing on my recovery. I went to physical therapy twice a week. I learned to walk without holding onto walls. I started running, something I could never do before because of my heart. Every step felt like a victory. I also found a new family. Maya, the coworker who signed my consent forms, became my best friend. She drove me to my follow-up appointments. She brought me soup when I was too weak to cook. Her family invited me to their Thanksgiving dinner. They gave me a seat at their table. No conditions. No favoritism. Just love. Her mom held my hand and said, "You're one of us now." I cried. For the first time in years, I cried happy tears. Here is what I learned. Family is not about blood. Family is about who shows up when you're bleeding. My parents Karen and David and my sister Sienna chose a wedding over my life. They chose flowers over a phone call. They chose champagne over checking if I was alive. And that was their choice. But my choice was to walk away. Some people will tell you that you should forgive family no matter what. That blood is thicker than water. But here's the truth. Forgiveness does not mean you have to keep letting them hurt you. You can forgive someone and still protect yourself. You can love someone from a distance or not at all. It took me a long time to realize that I deserved better. I deserve to be seen. I deserve to be loved without conditions. If you are watching this and your family has made you feel invisible, hear me. You are not invisible. You are not too much. You are not a burden. You are a person who deserves to be seen and loved and chosen. And if they can't see you, find people who will. They exist. I found them. I am Riley Morgan. I have a scar on my chest, and I am not ashamed of it. Because that scar reminds me that I survived. Not just surgery, but them. And you can survive too. Thank you for listening to my story. If you have ever been abandoned by the people who were supposed to love you, know that you are not alone. Their failure is not your fault. Keep healing. Keep growing. Keep choosing yourself. And one day, you will find your real family, the one that chooses you every single time, not because they have to, but because they want to. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe. Share it with someone who needs to hear that they matter. This is Riley. See you in the next story. And remember, you are not defined by the people who left you. You are defined by the strength you found to keep going.